In the years immediately following its independence, U.S. diplomats looked at Bangladesh and labeled it a bottomless basket, a nation designed, in their view, to be an endless, hopeless case for international charity. Today, global economic monitors track a very different reality. With a rising per capita income and a stabilizing population growth rate, Bangladesh is widely recognized as the emerging tiger of Asia. The foundation for this reversal was the adoption of a mixed economy. By officially patronizing free markets, while actively introducing public-private partnerships, the state created an environment where private enterprise could scale effectively. To generate its initial export wealth, the country leaned heavily into the ready-made garments, or RMG, industry. They utilized a massive, enthusiastic labor pool to supply highly competitive, labor-intensive manufacturing to the rest of the world. A population of 160 million people, initially viewed by outside observers as a demographic burden, was converted into a powerful, homogeneous workforce that gave the country a distinct advantage in global trade. To understand how this engine actually runs today, we have to break down its structural anatomy. This budget breakdown shows the modern economy's sector-wise contribution. It shows that the services sector dominates the national output, contributing 53% to the overall economy. Right beside it is the industry sector at 29%. This is the manufacturing and production engine that drives the bulk of the country's export wealth and foreign direct investment. Finally, we have the 18% agriculture sector. While smaller in pure financial output, agriculture acts as the nation's economic shock absorber, maintaining food security and absorbing unemployed labor during global downturns. By balancing modernizing services with heavy export manufacturing and a resilient agricultural safety net, the state maintains a highly shock-resistant macroeconomy. The policies governing these sectors have shifted dramatically over the decades. Between 1972 and 1975, under Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the government operated a strict nationalization policy, keeping the economy almost entirely state-owned. Throughout the late 1970s and into the 1990s, successive administrations pivoted hard toward denationalization, opening borders to trade and focusing heavily on developing the private sector. In the modern era under Sheikh Hasina, the strategy has concentrated on securing foreign direct investment, maximizing international labor remittances, and initiating massive national megaprojects. This flowchart illustrates the rigorous planning methodology used to manage these ambitions. Short-term execution is handled through the annual development plan, which then feeds into broader 5-year plans. By following the structure down, we see these short-term plans act as deliberate stepping stones toward massive horizon-level goals, like Vision 2041 and the Delta Plan 2100. The ultimate control room driving this roadmap is the Executive Committee of the National Economic Council, or ECNEC. Chaired by the Prime Minister, ECNEC acts as the absolute gatekeeper. They review the overall performance of the economy and must approve every major development and private investment project before ground is broken. Rapid growth of this magnitude doesn't happen by accident. It requires a centralized, highly strategic control room to design and execute multi-decade master plans. Hitting the target set for 2041 requires moving beyond the traditional staples of RMG and agriculture. The economy has to expand into untethered frontiers. One major frontier is the blue economy. International court verdicts have secured Bangladesh's sovereign rights over more than 118,000 square kilometers of maritime territory in the Bay of Bengal, opening up a massive, untapped zone for marine resources and offshore energy. The second frontier is digital. A huge demographic dividend has produced millions of tech-savvy young adults who are rapidly plugging into the global gig economy, taking on freelance and project-based work across international borders. While gig work offers low entry costs and immediate job flexibility, it simultaneously strips away traditional worker protections, leaving freelancers vulnerable to volatile incomes and a severe lack of fair pay guarantees. Conquering both the deep water and the digital space is a mandatory step in transitioning the national workforce from low-cost manual labor to high-value resource management. But before the country reaches 2041, it has to navigate the immediate macroeconomic threats detailed in its own national budget. The economy is currently fighting severe global headwinds. International conflicts, like the war in Ukraine, have triggered massive imported inflation, driving up the cost of essential food and fuel across the country. This budget breakdown shows the internal friction. To fund its operating and development costs, the government relies heavily on domestic and foreign loans, which account for over 35% of incoming resources. These mounting fiscal pressures and debt obligations threaten to slow down the exact infrastructure megaprojects required to keep the economic engine running at full speed. Over 50 years, a nation written off as a hopeless charity case built a resilient mixed economy, navigated extreme policy shifts, and systematically cut its poverty rate by more than a third. Navigating current global frictions will be difficult, but the trajectory toward 2100 proves that deliberate economic engineering can overwrite the most pessimistic geopolitical prophecies.